Hi everyone, it's Rachel. Today I'm going to be informing you a little bit of the history of coffee, different types of coffees and their caffeine levels, and then we'll finish off with how caffeine can affect our bodies. So after a long night of studying, a lot of us find ourselves trudging up the URI hill, whether it be from the parking lot or the dorms, and we are craving coffee. Now, did you start drinking coffee because you like the taste of it? Most likely you started drinking it because you like the caffeine in it, and after a couple cups, you were hooked. But do you really know everything about this caffeine-enriched substance you're sucking into your body as often you drank Capri Suns as a kid? Probably not. Do you sometimes opt for an espresso drink instead of your regular coffee because you're hoping it will give you that little extra boost? Well, that little extra boost you think you're feeling is all in your head, because a single shot of espresso usually has less caffeine than an 8-ounce cup of small coffee. And in most cases, such as at Starbucks and Dunkin' Donuts, their small is a 12-ounce. So sometimes you're getting more caffeine in a small coffee than a double shot of espresso. So maybe it's time you become a more conscious consumer and spill the beans on coffee. Take the time to learn a little bit about its history, the different types, their caffeine levels, and then how this caffeine is really affecting your body. So coffee has gone throughout a lot of changes over the centuries before it became the drink we all know and love today. The plant that it comes from was first discovered in Ethiopia in the 11th century, and it was boiled directly in water, and this was used for its medical properties, and these practices also spread to Yemen at the time. It later was brought to Istanbul, where its brewing methods changed. It was roasted by the bean and then ground up, and then this was what was cooked in the water. And this became more of a pleasure drink, and this was brought by merchants throughout Europe in the 14th and 15th century, and it was also brought to America at the same time as well, and it has become a very important commodity in world trading. And according to the U.S. Department of Agriculture's release in December 2017, the global consumption forecast for the 17-18 year was 158.5 million bags of coffee beans. Now, with this many bags of coffee beans being consumed, it is not surprising we have a lot of variety of these caffeinated beans to choose from. Not only are there different types of coffee beans, but there are also different caffeine levels that depend on how we brew them. So there are two different types of coffee beans that are primarily used. This is the Arabica bean and the Robusto bean. The Arabica bean has less caffeine than the Robusto. It has about half. So then roasting also affects the coffee's taste and its caffeine levels. So there are dark roast coffees that have a bolder and deeper taste to them, but surprisingly, they do not have more caffeine as some may believe. They actually have less than a lighter roast. The boldness taste comes purely from it being roasted longer, not from its caffeine levels. So medium roasts are not as strong as dark roast coffees, but they do have more caffeine, and the light roasts have the most amount of caffeine, and this is because they are roasted for the least amount of time, so less caffeine is burned off in the process. So brewing techniques also dictate the caffeine levels of a coffee as well. Auto-brewed coffee, which is one of the most commonly used brewing methods, has the most amount of caffeine. Espresso brewing is when hot water is shot directly through fine espresso grinds, and this actually has a high concentration for its size, but since it is served in such small portions, it does not have as much caffeine typically as a regular brewed coffee. French pressing, which is done in a French press, has less caffeine than normal brewing as well, and is done over a short period of time, so it's a quicker option, but it's less caffeine. And then instant coffee is also a short option. It is freeze-dried coffee that has already been brewed, so you just add water to reactivate it, and it has less caffeine than freshly brewed coffee does as well. And then decaf coffee, despite being short for decaffeinated, not completely caffeine-free. According to Healthline's How Much Caffeine is in Your Coffee from June 2017, a Dunkin' Donuts decaf coffee contains 128 milligrams of caffeine. This is 20 milligrams more than a Dunkin' small caffeinated coffee, and only 50 milligrams less than a Starbucks caffeinated one. So if you're opting for a large decaf at Dunkin', you might as well go get a small caffeinated somewhere else, and you're getting about the same levels of caffeine, which is crazy because most people consider decaf to be caffeine-free, so this is a very common misconception. So we usually go for the coffees that give us the most caffeine, and if you're going for decaf, you're still getting some caffeine, so it's very important to know how this caffeine is affecting your body. Caffeine is a stimulant that is both beneficial and harmful, and the FDA does warn us against high concentrated caffeine coffee products and other caffeine products as well. Some benefits that caffeine can have for our body is a 7 milligram dose of caffeine does help increase your alertness, and a cup of small coffee usually contains about 100 milligrams of caffeine, so all you really need is a small coffee to see some positive results. And 160 milligrams of caffeine can improve your mental alertness, and it also can improve endurance performance according to the EFSA. And caffeine consumption is also linked to lower risk with certain types of cancers, and also they are looking into, but do not have a lot of research on yet, how caffeine can help with weight loss and also weight gain prevention. So there are a lot of benefits to drinking the drink, but with some upsides, there always comes some downsides, and there are some risks related to overconsumption of caffeine, and overconsumption is said to be about over 400 milligrams of caffeine, and this is according to the FDA, and the risks that come with this can include high blood sugar, harm during pregnancy, reduced fertility, insomnia or disturbed sleep, headaches and dehydration, and also jitters, shakes, and tremors. It also has been linked to depression in teens, but they are unclear at this time if drinking coffee leads to depression or depression leads to drinking coffee, so they're still looking into that today. So now knowing about different types of coffee, their caffeine levels, and how they can affect you, you can make more informed decisions when getting your fix to help avoid these negative side effects and embrace the positive ones as well. So caffeine has been around for many centuries, changing over time, originally being used for medical purposes and then forming into the popular drink we all drink today. It's traveled around the world and become a very big trade commodity. There are different types of beans, roasts, and brewing methods that all can affect the caffeine levels you're intaking. So if you want the most caffeine, it's best to go with the lightest roast coffee on a normal brew setting, and caffeine can have both positive effects on the body, and it's important, although not to overconsume it because it can have some negative effects as well. So being informed is the best way to avoid these side effects. Thank you all for watching, and I hope you've learned something about coffee and now can make some more informed decisions when drinking it. Thank you.